So today we're here for the debate that, truth be told, I wish we weren't having.
Yes.
It's just never nice to talk about death when it comes to motorsport or any sport. And truth be told, motorsport is probably one of the riskiest ones out there, in the sense that pretty much every single time you go out there, you are in essence risking your life. And I know safety standards have improved a lot in recent years, yet the sad reality is that now we have seen yet another young driver lose his life tragically. Rest in peace, Dilano and Hoff. It's an unfortunate situation that once again has come about in Spa-Francorchamps of all places, which brings us, and we will do our best not to be knee-jerk here, but is it really a concern at this point that we've seen 2 accidents in the space of 4 years, not just the same circuit, but the same part of the circuit?
Yes, I think this is a conversation that needs to be had at this point in motorsports, because it isn't just car racing, it's also MotoGP.
Yeah.
We've seen it happen in racing, all sorts of racing when it comes to Spa. And why is it always Spa? It cannot be a coincidence that 2 drivers have now lost their life at the same part of the track. And it's that, by the way, that corner is no stranger to accidents.
No.
There's always a crash at that corner, and people, even the F1 fraternity, Lance Stroll called for a change, Max Verstappen called for a change, and this is something that needs to be talked about now, because that day, there are so many aspects to it. It's just hard to wrap your mind around it. First of all, it was pouring dogs and cats that day, and there was no way that was racing conditions
at all.
Second, that corner is very unsafe because that the railing, that's really unsafe. And third, why is there such an inconsistency when it comes to F1, F2, F3, F4? Like, why can't the same conditions or racing conditions or whatever the rules are be placed consistently over the whole umbrella?
Exactly.
Right?
Because if that was F1, no way would you be
way.
racing in those conditions. Like, I know people tend to talk about, say, Spa-Francorchamps 2021, which is a farce of a race, in all fairness. It shouldn't have happened like that. But the simple fact of the matter is they did whatever it is they could to ensure the drivers were safe, not putting them in unnecessary danger, which is, to be fair, what was happening not just here, but even in the case of Antoine Hubert in 2019. When he passed away, it was more or less the same issue, really. Car kind of rebounded off the barrier, and then, another car drives into it. So, I mean, what is it that can be done? First off, let's be fair, and I think this is something that's important when we talk about that corner, which is, of course, Eau Rouge into Radillon, which is a pretty iconic corner of Formula 1. Very high speed, very dangerous. But originally, that corner was not like that. So, originally, it was much slower. It was uphill and therefore slower, but the way it's been modified in recent times, it's made it speedier, which is, I mean, sure, it's great for a neutral, but if you're going to have that sort of a speedy corner, there's always going to be a propensity for trouble. So maybe you need more of a runoff area, and they have extended it, but it's clearly not enough at this point.
Yeah, I think the change was made because of the waterlogging at the waterlogging problems at Spa. But then you really have to look at this track, and why is it always that this track in particular poses such a threat to drivers' lives too? Because I remember in MotoGP as well, a few years ago we were having a lot of conversation. The MotoGP fraternity was having a conversation about all the changes that were needed at Spa, because it is a circuit that is being raced on every single year when it comes to motorsports, all motorsports in fact, right? So, I don't know, first of all, it's the waterlogging problem. 2 things that really are messing, my thoughts, messing with my thoughts right now is, first of all, Spa is a track that is known for its waterlogging problems, that is known for aquaplaning, and second, it was raining.
Yeah, and not just raining, it was
pouring. If you look at the spray, it was meters high. There's no way that the drivers could see anything over there. And I don't know, I remember the asphalt was changed, if I'm not wrong.
There was a reeling. There's a reeling of the track.
Because so they could absorb the water well, but obviously that didn't do anything. I don't know about that, but it's just that the race should have been stopped.
Yeah, it should have been red flags at that point, wait for the conditions to improve. And if it didn't improve too bad, like I know, as I said, 2021, a lot of people were not happy at the fact that, the race was kind of called off after it was. But, in the circumstances, I don't think F1 could have done too much more. because again the rain was really bad, and you have to remember that in Formula 1 now, with these new generation of cars that rely so much on ground effect in the underfloor, the spray is much worse.
Yes.
So that is why you see drivers and even the stewards and race control being far more cautious when it comes to rain, because it's one thing that spray is being generated. It's now that the volume of it is much worse, and that spray will instantly just cut your visibility down. And remember, current Formula 1 cars, already they've kind of raised the side walls, the profiles, the tires are bigger, so there is a bit of a visibility issue. In fact, I saw some drivers say that we couldn't see the white lines in Austria, so you couldn't see it properly. So visibility is definitely an issue that needs to be worked on, because in that sense, I understand making these changes, but safety needs to be paramount. It's just that simple.
Yeah, and what bothers me right now is that the race wasn't stopped, first of all.
Yeah.
Second, is it a thing that maybe F2, F3 or even
And in this case F4,
F4 doesn't pay attention to all these things because they just want to get the race, they just want to get over with the race?
Yeah.
Maybe. Because F1, it is, you are dealing with superstars and super teams and all these rich people, powerful drivers, powerful teams and all of that, and you don't really have a say over there when it comes to safety, because they will get on, the FIA's back
instantly
if there's anything remotely even unsafe happening over there. Even if there's slightest of debris, they stop the race, they put in the safety car.
Yeah, or the virtual, one way or the other.
Safety car. But F4?
This was Formula 4. Yeah.
I mean,
it was really, really bad, because again, my problem, and I understand that there are areas of the Spa track that can be reworked. We were talking about bigger runoff area, maybe getting rid of those barriers and putting grass or stuff like that, and that's fair.
Just put a gravel trap over there.
Or but gravel traps, I think now you're seeing F1 move away from more and more, to the very simple reason that it causes damage.
Yeah.
And nowadays the floor is more important than it probably has been in years.
That's true, but then it's also so effective in stopping the cars.
True, of course, I get it, but I think they're moving more away from that now. So then either what you need is runoff area, increase the grass space, remove the whole concept of the barriers over there, and be better safety or better judgment of the moment. Because if you notice, both of these crashes that we're talking about, one took place in Formula 4, one took place in Formula 2. You don't see this happening in a hurry in the senior level. It's mostly kids who are kind of trying to push the limit because they don't know better. And truth be told, your governance needs to be more firm. The younger the drivers, the younger the series. And F4 is, remember, the feeder to Formula 3. So you're going really low down the calendar, the pyramid. You need to kind of be more cautious when it comes to how it is the kids are handled.
Yeah, and when you look at it, when you look back on all these incidents, and even if you look at the normal crashes that have happened, it's always a multi-car accident, because there's no space there.
Yeah, because if there is no visibility at that point.
No, even stop thinking about visibility as well. Think about a crash in broad daylight that have happened there. Anton Hubert, when he had the crash, there was no rain.
Correct. There's just no place to move.
There's no place to move. If a car crashes there, the second one is going to come in and ram into you.
Exactly. And that's the problem. You need to be making more space over there. And truth be told, I think that's one complaint that fans have had with Spa for years, is that sure, it has an old school charm, but it kind of needs to be upgraded for, let's say, modern day Formula 1. It does need that upgradation, but there's also, as we were talking about, there needs to be more focus on safety. And I can't believe we're saying this about a sport that in years has actually made a lot of strides in that regard. Like, you have to give credit where it's due. Motorsport in general has moved towards being more safer than it was, say, maybe even 10-12 years back. But clearly there needs to be more of a thing, and this is not about the design of the cars or anything. It's about using or exercising basic common sense in that moment, saying that, if we won't be letting the adults race in these conditions, we can't be letting the kids race in these conditions.
Exactly. And going back to what Lance Stroll has said, he completely blamed the track because that corner is problematic, the Kemmel Straight. So we all know that a lot of crashes happen there. But Max Verstappen, Lance Stroll called for a change, and maybe some upgradations need to happen over there. But Max Verstappen said that you can't always blame the track. In this case, maybe you can, I don't know. But he clearly said that those were not racing conditions, and that race was completely unnecessary. And when you look at it, those visuals going around on social media, those two comparative pictures of F1 2021 Spa and Francorchamps 2023, and you could clearly see that there was much less rain in the Formula 1 race in 2021 at Spa. But how was it humanly possible that there was more rain day before yesterday, and still the race went on? That's the biggest problem.
Yeah, it's unacceptable. I think in that regard, I think the conditions needed to be taken into account, and you needed to, in fact, be mindful of the fact that, again, we wouldn't let the adults race here. We can't let the kids race here.
No.
So we need to stop the race, red flag it at that point, and say, yeah, you know what, need to let the conditions get better. Because again, we go back to, in fact, Spa 2021 is a good example. But even in recent times, you've seen a lot of the times when there is extreme rain. For one, the drivers are much more careful.
Yeah.
For the other, even race control, the stewards are very cautious when it comes to ensuring that, say, okay, if you're going out now, then it has to be on all wets.
Yeah, even when you look at it, like you said, in conditions like these, it's always either the drivers that are complaining incessantly, and the team management that is reaching out to FIA and calling them and calling the stewards and telling them that it's not necessary to race in these conditions, that it's unsafe. It happens a lot of resistance comes in when there are unsafe conditions. But now that I remember, when Lando Norris crashed
in 2021.
Remember how angry Sebastian Vettel was?
Yeah, and correctly so, because as you said, these aren't conditions that you should be out on the track.
Yes,
simple
exactly. People raise their voices. I wonder if anyone did that at the Francorchamps race.
And if people haven't, then I think, I understand, it's not that easy. It's easier said than done. But I think this is where Formula 1 needs to show some responsibility as a sport, and consider the fact that, look, these are our, junior series, and we need to be ensuring that the safety drive that we have for the pinnacle of motorsport filters down to the junior categories as well.
Yes,
it's just that simple. Because otherwise you will have more tragedies like this.
Yeah.
The whole point of, and again, you have to give F1 immense credit to the last proper death that happened probably was 2014, Jules Bianchi. Since then, you've not had issues, even though you've had some really bad crashes.
Grosjean.
But Grosjean, Kubica had his issues. Then, you've had issues, you've had bad crashes, but you've not had any major problems. And that's full credit to how many strides have been taken by the sport. But now that needs to kind of filter down as well, lower down the pyramid. Otherwise, as I said, you're just going to be seeing more such issues. So that's our take. As we said, major things that need to be looked at: governance, revamping the track, and of course applying some good old-fashioned common sense when it comes to safety like this. You guys can let us know your takes on this in the comments below, and please don't forget, like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell icon, and also
don't forget to download the Sportster app.
Also follow us across socials and stay tuned for more such videos. Right now though, from Gargi and me, it's goodbye.